Bad news for Mercedes. Despite Russell's retirement, Mercedes had a good Australian Grand Prix, and with the several-week break between that race and the one in Baku due to the cancellation of the Chinese Grand Prix, we might see even more upgrades to the W14. However, reports now surfaced that might mean bad news for Mercedes, as the problem with Russell's car engine was much worse than it was previously anticipated. This might hinder his chances to compete with Hamilton, or for wins in general, because it would force Mercedes to install a new engine in his car. What would this mean for the young British driver? Join us as we take a look into this brand new problem for the Silver Arrows. During the Australian Grand Prix, Russell's promising weekend came to an abrupt end when his Mercedes engine caught fire, forcing him to retire on lap 18. It was disappointing to see Russell's early exit, especially since he had been performing exceptionally well throughout the race weekend, because qualifying in second place behind Max Verstappen is an impressive feat itself, and he even managed to take the lead during the opening stages of the race. Despite all of this, he remained optimistic about the performance of the Mercedes team at Albert Park. After the checkered flag, Russell explained, "We've still got a lot of work to do to catch Red Bull, but we can take the positives from this weekend. Every time we've taken to the track, we couldn't have done any more. We maximized everything, and I'm proud of the job that we have done." But a new, shocking problem has occurred for Russell and Mercedes, which may drastically lower his chances of competing for the podiums later on in the season. More on this in a second though. Russell is staying focused on the task at hand and is a really down-to-earth driver, which was once again proven when Max Verstappen called him a potential world champion. And while he appreciates Max Verstappen's comments, he concedes there are a handful of drivers on the grid right now who could do it. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's always nice to hear positive things being spoken about you, he told Square Mile when their comments were put to him. But he continued, there's probably a handful of drivers on the grid right now who are all world championship worthy, some of which are already world champions, some of which haven't won world champions yet, and would definitely win a world championship if they were in the right car at the right time. As to what I can do to give myself the best chance, it's just about continuing to work and keep on pushing, never giving up, and ultimately making sure that I'm ready to fight when you've got that machine beneath you that's capable of winning. I hope that comes sooner than later, but I believe I've got a good 15 years left in me, and I've got to keep on working on my fitness, keep on working on my racecraft, keep on working on how I work with my team to make sure that if my opportunity is tomorrow, I'm ready tomorrow. If my opportunity is in 3, 4, 5, or even 10 years, so be it. Even Toto Wolff has expressed his confidence in the young driver's ability to fight for a championship, even calling him a champion in the making. However, despite Russell's talent, the current Mercedes car is not performing as well as its competitors. Lagging behind in both cornering and straight line speed, the team is set to introduce significant changes to the car in the coming weeks. However, it is certain that they will need time to understand the updated package before mounting a serious challenge for the championship. Despite this, Russell remains optimistic and ready to take on the challenge, acknowledging that drivers like Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen have more experience in the championship scenario. Still, he feels confident that he has enough experience to handle the challenges that come with fighting for a championship, and he believes that if he can focus on the smaller details and perform well in every race, he can become the world champion, and it's all in his hands. However, it may not all be sunshine and rainbows even after all these upgrades coming up in Baku for the Silver Arrows, because an unexpected big problem has apparently turned up in Brackley. According to reports, after the race, team principal Toto Wolff suggested that the fire in Russell's Mercedes engine may have been caused by a cylinder issue, but a deeper analysis was required to determine the exact cause. However, German publication Auto, Motor and Sport claims that a lodged piece of debris was the culprit behind the incident. Unfortunately, the damage sustained by Russell's internal combustion engine was so severe that it cannot be repaired, and he will need a new engine for the upcoming Azerbaijan Grand Prix. To add insult to injury, George Russell is likely to face a penalty later in the season due to the need for a new engine. Each driver is only allowed 3 of the internal combustion engine, turbocharger, motor generator unit, heat and motor generator unit, kinetic components per season, and Mercedes has already used their second of each after just 3 races. This situation is not unique, as several teams including Red Bull, Aston Martin, Mercedes and Ferrari have already experienced mechanical issues this season. For instance, Max Verstappen started the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in 15th place due to a driveshaft failure during qualifying, and similarly, Charles Leclerc suffered reliability issues that resulted in retirement in Bahrain and a subsequent 10-place grid penalty in Jeddah. And Lando Norris as well has already taken on a new ICE, TC, MGU-H and MGU-K. These incidents demonstrate the importance of reliability in motorsport and the potential consequences of technical failures. It's nevertheless a frustrating situation for the young Mercedes driver, who had been performing exceptionally well throughout the race weekend, but it's something that he will need to overcome if he hopes to have a successful season. Another reason why George might have a bad next few races, apart from the new engine and the potential penalties, is the race schedule. The current calendar layout of the Formula One season has been a concern for drivers, including him, who have been calling for a better one, because the 2023 season was originally planned to have the next race in Shanghai, China, but it was called off due to complications with COVID-19 in the country. In a conversation with men's world #1 tennis player Novak Djokovic, Russell expressed that it takes about a week for him to recover from the trip to Australia for the Melbourne Grand Prix, when there's a 10-hour time difference. Russell has previously talked about the unsustainable nature of the calendar during the race weekend in Melbourne, suggesting that Australia should be back-to-back with a Middle Eastern race to save time, and with the current layout, the sport will move from Australia to Azerbaijan for the next race, which is 8,071 miles away. George will feel this problem for sure, as he is fighting for the top spot in Mercedes with Lewis Hamilton, because currently he is ahead of him. In 25 Grand Prix races, Russell has outqualified Hamilton and outraced him, and is leading 13-12 in that regard. Although we have never witnessed a direct competition between the two drivers for pole position or race victories, the evidence suggests that Russell has a slight edge over Hamilton. This is because Russell has achieved a pole position, a sprint race win and a Grand Prix victory during their time together, and the gap between them is so narrow that it is difficult to make definitive conclusions. Based on recent form, Russell appears to be the stronger contender, as he has won all 3 qualifying sessions in 2023. In fact, he may have even beaten Hamilton in Australia if it weren't for the red flag and subsequent retirement. However, we can confidently say that Russell is a major step up over Valtteri Bottas. The Finnish driver finished in front of Hamilton roughly once every 3 or so races, making him not a worthy opponent like Russell is. In this case, it is about motivation, because when a driver is young, hungry for victories and dreams of titles, it drives him, and unconsciously he is giving the best version of himself. Lewis, who has all these records, is now condemned to fight with a bad car against his teammate, who is a great driver for a change. It must be difficult for him to motivate himself, regain his confidence and relax, to be able to present his best version, as it's all in his head. If they were fighting for the championship and the stake was the title, that pressure would probably not be the same. What do you think? Can this problem stir up Russell mentally before everything else, or will the young Briton just brush it off and race like nothing happened? Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below, and see you next time!